Okay, in this video we're going to be talking about why does gender matter, in Spanish of course. So if you're anyewhat familiar with the Spanish language, you've probably figured out that there are feminine words and masculine words, and maybe you know what that means, maybe you don't, but you need to know at least why it matters and why you need to know it, and how hard is it to learn in general. I'm going to show you exactly when and why it is important in Spanish, and hopefully I can give you some tips on how to remember if a word is feminine versus masculine. I'm going to be using my whiteboard on the computer. Hopefully you like this format of teaching. Let me know in the comments if you do, if it's easy to follow along, or if you'd rather see me write stuff on a whiteboard. I feel like this is kind of easy to see. But anyways, if you know anything about Spanish, you know that in order to say the word the word the, a word is either going to be el or la. It's kind of weird, but you need to know that it's either going to be el something or la something. And el is what we use for masculine words, and then we've got la, obviously, for feminine. I can't even spell this. Feminine words. So, what does this mean and why does it matter? Well, the first thing you really have to know is that it's important because when we go to use adjectives, when we go to describe things, so I'm just going to put adjectives here so maybe you can write that in your notes. You need to know whether a word is feminine or masculine because it can change. I'm going to give you an example. If I have the word bonito, this means pretty or good looking or whatever. The last letter here is going to change depending on whether or not it is a masculine or a feminine word. If it's masculine, it's going to be bonito, so this is for masculine. And then if it's feminine, it's going to be bonita. It's going to end with an A instead of an O. So I'm going to give you an example. If I say the pretty man, no, it's kind of a weird example. It would be el, because it's a masculine word. Hombre is man, and then we've got bonito. In Spanish, the adjectives come after the noun, just in case you were confused about that. It's almost like you're saying the man pretty. But if I wanted to say the pretty woman, which sounds a bit better in English anyway, it would be la, because it's the, a feminine word. Mujer is a feminine word. La mujer bonita. How do we know whether or not a word is masculine or feminine, though? Typically in Spanish, if the word ends in an O, it's going to be masculine, and if the word ends in an A, it's going to be feminine. This isn't necessarily always the case, though. There are some exceptions. For example, problema, which means obviously problem, is not la problema, even though it ends in an A, it's el problema. And typically, if a word ends in M-A, to be specific, if it ends in E-M-A, but I always think of it as just M-A, it's going to be masculine if the word ends in these letters. I don't know why. No one knows why. It's just the way it is for some reason. Like el tema, the theme, or the topic. You've got words like el alma, which means the soul. Just remember that it's a general rule. That's good to know. And the other rule is for words that end in ion. If it ends in ion, it's going to be feminine. For example, la conversación. There's a lot of words that end in ion. Those are going to be feminine words as well. The long conversation, it would be la conversación larga. And it would end in an A because we're describing the feminine word conversation. So that's why it's important to know this stuff. The other scenario that you need to know, and I'll write it over here on the right side, is you need to know feminine versus masculine words because when you go to use something called direct objects, and you might not be there yet in Spanish, but basically a direct object would be, for example, do you have the pen? Yes, I have it. So this it word here, which is connecting to the word pen, but we're not actually specifically saying the word pen. In Spanish, this would either be lo or la, to say it, that you have it. And it goes before the verb. It's you have to kind of learn the format for it. It's not too difficult, but in this instance, it would be, yes, I have it, sí lo tengo. Why is it lo? It's because it's masculine. La is for feminine words to say it. So you're saying pen bolígrafo, which is a masculine word. I have it. If you were to say I bought it, referring to a house, which is casa, specifically a feminine word, la casa, I would say la compré. But if I were to say I bought it and I am referring to a pen, which is, as we know, a masculine word, it would be lo compré. So you can see the difference. La compré is for feminine words, and then lo compré is for masculine words. So that's why gender of words matter in Spanish, just because you have to know them for adjectives and when you use direct objects. It's not overly complicated, and also when you say the word the, just in general, like if I wanted to say put it on the table, I wouldn't want to say el mesa because it's actually la mesa. Mesa is table and it's feminine, so it just doesn't sound right. I do tell people, especially beginners, not to stress too much. Honestly, if you learn this general rule over here, like the exceptions where if a word ends in MA, it's masculine. If it ends in ion, it's feminine. If it ends in O, it's normally masculine. If it ends in an A, it's normally feminine. You're going to be good for like 90-95% of Spanish words. So then it can be easy to differentiate. This comes with time. It comes naturally to really get the hang of this stuff, but really don't stress too much about it in the beginning, because even if you said el mesa instead of la mesa, even if you said la tengo instead of lo tengo, people understand you perfectly fine. No one's going to judge you. If anything, they might give you a quick little friendly correction, but that's it. And next time you won't forget it. So if you are a serious Spanish learner, by the way, and you want to learn how I was able to learn Spanish within a matter of months and how you can become fluent within a year, I've put together a free training that you can watch today that will explain you the perfect roadmap for learning Spanish and accelerating your learning, not like the traditional way that takes years and years and just pointless grammar rules and studying. I mean, really become fluent in Spanish. Click on the link in the description to sign up for that, and you can check that out and be having real conversations in Spanish just a few months from now. I hope you enjoyed this type of format for teaching. If you want more videos like this, I plan on making a lot more videos in the future. If you'd rather me write things on a whiteboard, or if you like me writing stuff on the computer, let me know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe if you're a Spanish learner. Peace out. Ciao.